Boasting an 8-game winning streak and sitting alone atop the AFC West, the Seattle Seahawks exhibited great confidence in taking on the Kansas City Chiefs, a team they had thrashed 45-0 earlier in the season. When Dave Craig and Darrell Turner hooked up on this 47-yard flea flicker, it appeared to be another big play game for the Seahawks. But Kansas City turned the tables on Seattle, serving up the Seahawks' own brand of punishing defense. In their previous matchup, Seattle had turned 4 interceptions into touchdowns. This time around, turnovers were plentiful again, but for the other side. While rookie Scott Radisick, number 97, converted one of 6 Kansas City interceptions into a score, the Seattle defense couldn't contain Bill Kenny, who shredded their secondary for more than 300 yards, 166 of which were directed toward Henry Marshall, number 89. With a 34-7 shellacking of Seattle, Kansas City posted its second consecutive victory over a playoff-bound opponent and can look back on the end of their season with some satisfaction. In New Orleans, a few Bengals were doing some looking of their own, undoubtedly studying and analyzing some new formations. Once Cincinnati turned its attention toward football, they found the Saints auditioning for a big play under the bright lights and showing off some fancy moves that could never be choreographed. Hobie Brenner's 54-yard Hail Mary reception lifted the Saints to a 7-3 halftime lead. And Brenner danced into the end zone once again when he connected with quarterback Dave Wilson on a more conservative play. But Cincinnati is vying for a division title and refused to let its playoff hopes be dashed. Quarterback Ken Anderson, playing for the first time in a month, brought his team back with 21 second-half points. Actually, it was Stanford Jennings, number 36, who looked a little rusty as he had some trouble keeping a hand on this TD pass. Luckily, Cincinnati managed to hold on to its lead, which was further cushioned by Anderson's strike to James Brooks. The 24-21 Bengal victory assured a down-to-the-wire fight for the AFC Central crown with the Pittsburgh Steelers, a team gallantly trying to fill the shoes of Jack Lambert, the heart and soul of their team. Without their leader on defense, things just aren't as polished as they were in the glory days of the Steel Curtain. While the no-nonsense Lambert may have winced at the defense's penchant for slapstick, the performance of rookie wide receiver Louis Lips was strictly serious business. Lips streaked 61 yards with plenty of room to spare, while Cleveland quarterback Paul McDonald's subsequent strike to Ricky Feature remained in bounds only by the sheer determination of number 83. McDonald also refused to give up his quest for the Browns' first victory in 14 years of visiting Three Rivers Stadium, and he took it upon himself to leave no doubt of a score. This 3-yard bootleg tied the game at 20, but with 5 seconds remaining, Pittsburgh called upon Gary Anderson to keep alive the Steelers' hopes of repeating as Central Division champs. The 23-20 victory set the stage for this week's regular season finale against the Raiders, a must-win situation for the Steelers, whose once comfortable divisional lead has slipped to a shaky 1-game advantage over the Bengals. Receiver Mike Quick would rather be firing himself up for a critical showdown for a playoff spot. But with he and his Eagles out of the hunt, it was time to enjoy the blue skies and have fun. At the outset, however, it was New England who had the fun and the Eagles who were blue. Number 86, Stanley Morgan, gave the Patriots an early lead in the game where a win would keep New England's mathematical shot at the playoffs alive. It would require a ton of luck in order for them to make the playoffs, and it seemed that indeed luck was on their side. Cedric Jones saved the touchdown, and then the luck ran dry as the team with nothing to lose dominated the team with everything to lose. The Eagles played a daring and reckless game with Wes Hopkins, number 48, leading the charge. Despite being one of the last games of the season for Philadelphia, it was a game of firsts. It was the first time in punter Rich Camarillo's 5-year career that anyone had blocked one of his punts. And when the usually cement-footed Joe Pisarcik runs for a pair of touchdowns in a game, it must be a first. Pisarcik is not the fleetest of foot and commented afterwards that he thought he might have been whistled for a delay of game penalty. Number 31, Wilbert Montgomery, is quick, and he too established a first. Montgomery's 100 yards on the button marked the first time in 33 games that he had hit the century mark. Philadelphians applauded their 27-17 victory, but a day earlier in the Meadowlands, New York fans watched in amazement as the Bills threatened to hand the Jets their 7th straight defeat. Number 59, Stan David, helped Buffalo to a 17-7 halftime lead, but in the final 30 minutes, the Bills were buffaloed and held scoreless while Ken O'Brien ignited the second half surge with the help of Wesley Walker. Walker's big catch inspired the Jets to a come-from-behind 21-17 win, capped by Tony Page's 3-yarder up the gut. It is generally true with teams like Philadelphia, Buffalo, and the Jets that with the pressure of making the playoffs lifted, football becomes more daring and free-spirited. But down in Tampa, you would have thought that the Falcons and Bucs were deadlocked in the final minute of the NFC Championship game. Atlanta had lost 8 in a row. Tampa Bay had won only once in their last 8 games. Still, the hitting was fierce, and down near the goal line, it was simply a matter of survival of the fittest. Surviving requires brains and strength, and Steve DeBerg was smart enough to use the strength of guard Sean Farrell, number 62, when venturing near the end zone. DeBerg put the Bucs ahead 10-0, and a 23-6 victory was sealed by James Wilder, whose 125 yards rushing and 22 yards receiving gave him 2,066 total yards, making him only the 7th player in league history to amass over 2,000 yards from scrimmage in a season. Bill Walsh's 49ers toyed with the Vikings on Saturday, and for a while it appeared that they might run up 2,000 yards in one game. Number 87, Dwight Clark, Freddie Solomon, and Swift Ronaldo Nehemiah, number 83, all caught Joe Montana scoring passes as San Francisco had to settle for merely 521 yards of total offense. 3 Ray Wersching field goals and a determined Wendell Tyler helped put the Niners on the board on 9 different possessions as they rolled 51-7. San Francisco thought the face mask grabbing of Tyler a bit unnecessary. But even if it were necessary for Tyler to miss a game, backups like Derek Harmon and number 30 Bill Ring, who both ran for scores, give Walsh the deepest and most talented bench in the league. Sure, losers can play relaxed late in the year, but at 14-1, the NFL's best record belongs to the loose and winning 49ers. Even when he is only loosening up, Smilin' Dan Marino exudes a cool sense of confidence that can be contagious. It proved so last Sunday in Indianapolis when Marino and his teammates found themselves down 17-7 at the half. First, it was a smothering Dolphin defense that stifled the Colts offense, limiting them to just 27 second-half yards. Then it was a snarling Marino who eventually got the last laugh on the Colts. Marino hit on 4 second-half scoring strikes, increasing his season record-breaking total to 44 as he rallied the Dolphins to 28 unanswered points. Miami prevailed 35-17, and at 13 wins and 2 losses, the Dolphins once again own the best record in the AFC. In Chicago, the Green Bay Packers' teeth were well sharpened in anticipation of feasting on the very wounded NFC Central Division champs. And when Del Rogers returned the second quarter kickoff 97 yards for a score, it did seem that Green Bay's bicuspids had cut deeply into the suddenly snake-bitten Bears. Chicago's problem these days has nothing really to do with its special teams. It is their offense that has been struggling. Now that they are down to third-string quarterback Rusty Lish, Chicago's attack has not only been defanged, but also declawed. The only aerial game the Bears could mount came from the reliable hands of Walter Payton. But while Sweet Walter is a talented sort who can run, block, throw the option pass, and probably balance the federal budget if given the chance, it became painfully obvious to Chicago that one thing he cannot do is play quarterback. Surprisingly, in light of Chicago's inability to move the football, this game was a nail-biter that went down to the final minute. And ironically, it was the Packers' own third-string quarterback, Rich Campbell, who chewed up the Bears for good. Campbell's 43-yard touchdown pass to Phil Epps with just 34 seconds left gave Green Bay a 20-14 victory. And by dropping the Bears' record to 9-6, the Packers certainly gnawed away at whatever chance Chicago had of being a host in the second round of the NFC playoffs. After having their previous 2 games virtually stolen from right under their eyes, the Broncos made sure that security was tight last Sunday at Mile High Stadium. But despite the watchful eyes of the National Guard, the San Diego Chargers still made every attempt to harass and pilfer Denver quarterback John Elway. With their big Monday night victory over the Bears still fresh in their minds, the Charger defense played as aggressively as it has all year, forcing the Broncos into 4 turnovers. Touchdowns in this game were as scarce as turnovers were plentiful, and San Diego could not put the ball into the end zone until the opening minutes of the final quarter. Ed Luther's 4-yard touchdown toss to number 21 Buford McGee knotted the contest at 13-all. But then Denver reverted back to a familiar scene of some of their own game-stealing crimes. With 2 minutes to go, Denver kicker Rich Karlis made amends for his last-second misses against Seattle and Kansas City, booting the Broncos to a 16-13 victory with a 28-yard field goal. The confidence that Carlos may have lost should certainly be restored, and Denver is certainly going to need it in their winner-take-all for the Western Crown rematch against Seattle in the season's final week. Los Angeles head coach John Robinson had plenty of reason to get excited Sunday as his Rams met the Oilers in Anaheim. On the fifth snap of the game, quarterback Jeff Kemp unloaded a 57-yard pass to wide receiver Drew Hill, and the Rams were ahead to stay. The rest of the sunny afternoon belonged to number 29, sensational Eric Dickerson. The second-year pro rewrote the NFL record book by gaining 215 yards to shatter O.J. Simpson's season total with 2,007 of his own. They are the only men to rush for 2,000 yards in a single year. Dickerson, who set the league record for rushing by a rookie last year, added still another honor. It was his 12th 100-yard game on the season, breaking the mark shared by Simpson and Earl Campbell. Nearly lost amid the glitter of Dickerson's accomplishments was the fact the Rams win up their record to a neat 10-5 and gives them a solid shot of making the playoffs for the second straight year. St. Louis's Busch Stadium was the site of another key game in the race for the playoffs. Before 50,000 hostile fans, Bill Parcells' Giants controlled their own destiny in their fight for the title in the tightly contested NFC East. But the Cardinals' lethal partnership of Neil Lomax and Roy Green ended that dream by picking on rookie cornerback Kenny Daniel, number 24. Daniel had replaced injured All-Pro Mark Haynes in the third quarter. To their credit, the Giants did not go down easily, trading touchdowns with their hosts as the lead seesawed back and forth a half dozen times. Neil Lomax became only the sixth quarterback in NFL history to throw for more than 4,000 yards, piercing the Giants' defense for 305 and 3 touchdowns, including this 44-yard thriller to stump Mitchell. With the score tied at 21 in the fourth quarter, it was a touchdown on the ground by number 32, Otis Anderson, that broke open the hard-fought game. With their loss to St. Louis, the Giants muffed a golden opportunity, for they now cannot win a division championship. Because of their 31-21 victory, the Cardinals have a crack at their first Eastern title since 1975. Meanwhile, in Dallas, the shaky Cowboys continued to give Tom Landry fits, finding new ways to lose big games. Against Washington, Dallas broke fast from the starting blocks, holding the Redskins to just 2 field goals in the first half. Quarterback Danny White, who was unstoppable in the first and second quarters with 3 touchdown passes, had a 327-yard, 4-touchdown game, as the Cowboys took a seemingly insurmountable 21-6 halftime lead. Mike Renfro victimized cornerback Darrell Green on this 60-yard scoring reception. When his team floundered in the second half, White brought them back with this beautifully timed touchdown pass to Tony Hill, number 8. For the most part, however, the second stanza belonged to the Redskins. Joe Theismann threw his only touchdown toss of the day to Calvin Muhammad, and the Dallas attack self-destructed by turning the ball over to Washington 4 times in the disastrous third quarter, including this game-breaking bit of revenge by Darrell Green, number 28, who stole White's throw and took it 32 yards for 6 points. Landry called it the key play of the game. The wild win gave Washington sole possession of the NFC East and dealt Dallas one of their most crushing defeats. The Cowboys are now left dangling on the precipice of total elimination from the playoff picture for the first time in a decade, while Washington controls its own destiny in their head-to-head confrontation with the Cardinals this week.